Ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep. We ready to go?
Yep.
All right. All right, well, to review last week, thought we got off to a good start on Friday. And as I talked about, I thought we did a lot of good things in that particular game. Saturday we didn't get a very good result and certainly didn't like the way the game ended. After having gone back to watch the game, as we always do, I thought we did more better things than I originally thought, although I did think, in the end we kind of shot ourselves in the foot where we took our momentum away with a series of penalties that we took, culminating in the power play goal that we gave up that cost us the game. So that was frustrating, something certainly to learn from, because here we put ourselves in a situation to sweep at home, which I thought was a real important opportunity that we kind of let slip away, and we need to learn some lessons from that. So we did, again, see a number of good things during the course of the weekend. I've been asked a number of times about, obviously the ice had some impact on the game, but it had impact on both teams, and so no sense in talking about that. And in the end, they took advantage of a mistake that we made, put ourselves down in that situation late in the game, and they won the game, so it cost us a game. As it relates to looking ahead this weekend, as you know, we've scheduled a very difficult non-conference schedule, and these two games are a good example of that. We'll play two good teams. I think they're both ranked in the top 12 in the country. On the road, got to prepare for two different teams, another part of our preparation to learn to be tournament ready, rather than just preparing for the same team both weekends. So that presents another opportunity to get better, and that's how we talk to our team. It's a real opportunity. We're going into very difficult places to play, and we'll see how we measure up. But we made progress in our game. We have to continue to make progress this week. Well, I thought we did some good things on special teams, both on the power play and penalty kill. In the end, we didn't really win special teams either night. The first night, we got a power play goal. We didn't give any up, but we gave up a shorthanded goal. So that was a wash. The second night, that was the difference in the game. And I think it's important for us we get to a point where our special teams gets a win each night, because that could be the difference in a lot of these one-goal games of whether you win or lose. So we had a real good hard workout yesterday. We'll do so again today, and then focus on BU. Questions?
Can you talk a little about, obviously, not just Matt's weekend individually, but
Matt Berry?
Yeah, you talk a little about Matt Berry's weekend individually, but also from a standpoint of that entire line. They gave you the bulk of your offensive production.
That line played really well. They played well together. They played with a lot of energy. They really executed a lot of things that we've been working on, and I thought they played fast. And I thought that was one of the main differences between that line and a couple of the other lines that we have optimism for. And I thought it was a good example we even used with our team yesterday, that those guys played at a faster pace, kept their shifts shorter, and were able to get more accomplished in less time. In Matt's case in particular, I thought it was a benefit both to him and to the team that he got off to a fast start. And, he is a goal scorer, and when pucks go in, they go in, just like you saw that dump in from center ice. Sometimes you're living right. On the other hand, when I watched that game back, I believe he had one of the real good chances early. Their goaltender made some really good saves early in that second game that we could have started with a maybe 2 or 3 goal lead, and now you're playing from well out front, and could have changed the dynamics of a game. So I thought Matt had obviously a very strong weekend. It's a good start. Should be a good confidence builder for him, and certainly for that line.
Thomas, neither here nor there. What's going on with the ice?
There was a mechanical issue. Tom Campbell would be a better person to talk to on that, but there was a mechanical issue even before the game started on Saturday night. So the system was down the whole game. So if you noticed as you were watching the game, the ice got softer and softer and softer, and I think they finally got it figured out about 2 in the morning to get the system back kicked in.
It was just Saturday, not Friday.
It was just Saturday. You know, so we both teams had to adapt to really kind of a change in the environment, and it was harder to really possess the puck, make plays. You saw the puck bouncing a lot, rolling a lot, and so it was what it was. I think they've got it all figured out, and hopefully working the bugs out of the system. And if it goes down, hopefully it goes down again. Not when there's a game going on. I'd asked the officials about 10 minutes to go in the third period to do another dry shave, because they weren't putting any water on the ice after the first, like, pregame. They were dry shaving the ice, and they chose not to. In hindsight, I wish I'd have been a little more forceful in making that request. It's really their determination.
Why would they choose not to? It's fair for
I don't
them.
know. They might have thought it was
A home ice thing or something?
you know, I don't know. I don't know what I didn't confront it too hard. Just I had suggested I thought it'd be good for the ice to, because as you saw, it just started to get wetter and wetter and wetter over a period of time. They probably didn't know how much ice there might be. Maybe they didn't want to delay the game any longer. I don't know. But I wish I was a little more forceful in it in hindsight.
Tom, going back to your number one line again, or good line there. Mackenzie McEachran seemed to play with a lot of energy and just had it going on the weekend. What do you expect him? What's his strengths, and what do you expect him to do this season to give you a good chance to win?
I think the weekend you saw the areas of his game that are continuing to grow and the impact that he can make. He does play with a lot of energy, which is a real positive thing. Actually, there are times that we need to kind of dial him back a little bit because he's moving a lot, and I thought he was very effective in his forechecking, very effective. I thought he played hard in his defensive zone. He was good with possessing the puck and made some real good plays. And then I thought it was a real nifty little play with his hands, you know, from below the goal line to score that power play goal on a tough angle.
Mm-hmm.
So, good weekend for him. I'm sure that's helping his confidence. But him having the kind of jump that he had in both games makes a big impact on his game, and then his impact on his line. Like I said, I think sometimes, and we always talk about this, sometimes he's moving so much and so fast, he kind of moves out of open areas. And I think if we can dial him back and get him to recognize that at times, but I'd rather have to dial somebody back than dial him up. So overall, we thought he had two really solid games.
Do you see him more as a setup guy or goal scorer or a combination?
No, I think he'll be a goal scorer at this level, and I think he can make plays too. You know, in the power play, he found some guys and got the puck in the right spot. But I think over time, as he gains experience and the game, you know, kind of slows down around him with his experience, he'll score more and more goals, and that's been his track record up until this point.
Staying on the topic of that line, can you talk about your decision to put those three together and you know, what you saw in each of them that you thought would work well?
Well, part of the reason that they're together is, and I think I mentioned this last week, is we're trying to experiment with special teams, both power play and penalty kill units. We're trying to keep the lines together a little bit. You know, you're certainly looking for some chemistry, and you know, as we're experimenting through it, we ended up having Ferentino and Mackenzie as a pair to kill penalties. And then we decided we'll try these guys together on a power play, and that just then made sense that you put the line together. And so that's subject to change, but right now, obviously, with the kind of week they had, I think that's something for them to build off of. But that's kind of how the methodology came about.
Tom, looking back to 3 years ago, when Jake was a rookie. This would be 2 years ago now. You started him at Minnesota, or got him some ice time, I guess, at Minnesota towards the end of the game. Any plan with Ed to kind of get him some baptism under the harsh conditions of road hockey and against very talented teams this week?
Not really. Where we sit right now, in fact, going into that series that you're referring to in Minnesota a couple years ago, it's just the way it played out, and we decided we're going to give him a chance. No, we're going into the series planning to play Hildy. He's our #1 goaltender, and right now that's what our intention is.
Coach, what do you want to see improve from your special teams? I mean, your penalty kill was almost spotless on the weekend, but what from that and the power play do you want to see going into this weekend?
Well, it would have been nice to eliminate the almost in your comment, because I think that could have been a game-changing difference. I really liked, if I start with our power play, I thought we moved the puck around really well. We had good zone possession time. I thought we entered the zone fairly successfully, and pretty consistently. I thought Friday night, maybe a little more than Saturday night, or maybe as the night went on, we started to look off easy passes for a more complex play, and that broke up plays, and I thought that was a good lesson learned, because we preach it all the time, take what's available to you. So I thought overall I was pretty pleased with the first weekend of power play puck movement. I would like to see the second night the puck go in on some of the chances we had. We had a couple series that we had really good chances, and one time pucks were deflected in 2 different ways and the goalie made the stop. It would have been nice to see those go in. But overall I thought we progressed well. Penalty kill wise, other than giving up the 1 goal, I thought we limited the number of real good scoring chances, which was a good thing, and we just have to get better. Like, each week we'll play a different group that might have different assets that they're focused on, and we've got to figure that out and try to figure out how we're going to shut that down. But one of our goals this season has been to develop 6 to 7 forwards that could kill for us, and coming out of the first weekend we got at least 6 guys meaningful experience. I think we got to expand on that a little bit, given injuries or penalties or whatever. But we're off to a good start in that area, and hopefully can build on what we did this past week and make it better.
Tom, what did you see in your players' eyes Saturday night after the loss?
There was a lot of disappointment. I think everybody realized that we shot ourselves in the foot late in that game. And again, it didn't come just when we got that last penalty. I thought we had tons of rhythm going, and we were involved in 3 penalties. One became a coincidental penalty, but when you start there, now they were playing catch up. They had to score a goal. You just opened up the ice, and it's easier to play in a 4-on-4 situation than a 5-on-5 situation. So I thought, that kind of started the sequence. Then we come back with what I consider a retaliatory penalty. Those are unacceptable, and again, that gives them more rhythm, more opportunity. It puts some guys on our team on the bench, some guys on the ice more, changes the dynamics of the game. Then a major penalty gives them tons of rhythm. So I think everybody recognizes, and everybody recognized in our room, that we had a great impact on how that game ended, and that can't happen.
So you said right after the game you can't figure out how in game 2 they didn't bring it.
Yeah, I got to give ourselves a little better credit than the emotion that I had after the game, because I did think after going back and watching that game, we started better than I gave us credit for. Like we could have had 2 goals in the first shift of the game. So I didn't give us enough credit for that. I was too stuck on the way the game ended, probably.
So you don't think they mailed one in?
No, we didn't mail it in. We've made some bad. We made some bad decisions and reacted poorly towards the end of the game that cost us the game.
That's kind of alluded to where I was going to go next, is the discipline. I mean, 9 penalties over the weekend, a couple majors. How do you eliminate that? Because that's not been a characteristic of this team in the last 2 years.
Right, and we want to be more aggressive. I will tell you, we want to be a more aggressive team, and with that oftentimes comes a greater number of penalties. But you want to make sure they're the right kind of penalties, and in terms of where they're taken, what kind they're taken. So we took 2 penalties in that game. Well, actually, we took at least 3 penalties that come to mind in the offensive zone, which is 150 or plus feet from our net. So we took the Red Holland penalty, when he pinched down on the boards. We took the Keller penalty, where he made a play on the puck, and that's a pretty tic-tac type penalty, the coincidental, when the goalie had it. And then the other penalty was Humi's penalty at the end. Though you don't like taking those kinds of penalties so far away from your net, and at the same time we took can't think, Ebbing's penalty was right at center ice, right in front of our bench. So, you know, the kind of penalties that you can tolerate are if you're saving a goal, you know, or a play out of aggression that occurs, you know, not hitting somebody in the head or something like that, out of some intensity. And again, the better our penalty kill can be, the more we could probably overcome. If you could ever get a 90% penalty kill, then you're giving up a goal once every 10 tries. Okay, you know, maybe you can play on the edge a little bit more, but discipline needs to be an important part of our game, and it traditionally has. And in those cases, we made some bad decisions.
Did you get a look at the Hermione penalty?
I did, yeah. Yeah,
Was it legit, or? Was it-
yeah. I thought so.
What about Darney's on Friday?
Yeah, I thought Darney's was too. Yeah, you know, from a rules perspective, we want to eradicate hits from behind and hits to the head. And in both of those cases, you know, that occurred. So Darney's, we talked about how to approach somebody. It's hard in the game when somebody's turning at the last second. But that, you know, the onus, based on our rules, is on the player pursuing the check. So there were a couple options he could have pursued, and we talked about it with not just him, but with our team. And then in Humi's case, you know, he didn't raise his hands or anything like that. And I don't know if there was a height differential in there, but his shoulder hit the guy in the head, you know. And it was a little, you know, almost a 1001, almost 1002 before that hit took place. And those are the kinds of things that the officials are really looking for. So if he collided, maybe he did, but nevertheless, you're still responsible for that contact, just like you would, you know, an errant stick that hit somebody.
So that Darnell penalty on Friday, there's, you know, he's turning away from it as he checks him into the boards. There's no gray area on that at all for the guy going to a little bit check.
There is if Darney adapts to it, but if you follow through and make the contact hard, you know, I don't know how much impact it was that the player left the game and never returned. You know, I couldn't tell you how that is, but at the time of the call, you really have to show some sign of easing up, even in that instance where maybe you grab the player. We've told our guys, if you get in that situation, then you grab them. And while maybe you're holding them a little bit, you're not going to bear hug them and hold them for long. At least it's a sign to the official that you've adjusted to the intensity in which you're coming in to deliver the force. You know, if you follow through, that's an easy one. You know, and he moved into him pretty hard. So I'm not gonna complain about those things. It's part of the game, and we have to learn to deal with it. But at the same time, I want us to be aggressive. I want to play aggressive. I want to play physically. And those guys who are making those hits that we're talking about need to add that element to our team. We just have to make sure when we're doing it in a responsible way.
After the game, the players talked about, you know, finishing strong and playing a full 60 minutes of hockey. How much of that is a mindset, and, you know, how do you incorporate that in practice to make sure it translates to the games?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a enormous mindset in my mind, particularly at this time of year when fatigue becomes a factor. I mean, really, the better physical condition you can be, the longer, you know, obviously your body can go without really having to kick in to your mental toughness. And so we think we're in pretty good physical condition, but at the same time, you do start to fatigue. And when you fatigue, that's when mistakes oftentimes increase. And that's where we have to bear down and do a better job. So retaliation is a mental thing. You decide, I'm going to retaliate, rather than pick your spot, you know, in a legal manner and deliver a check or whatever it might be. So we put ourselves in a situation now where we're a man down, we're playing a smaller number of guys towards the end of a game, and so we let that slip away on us. And I think a big part of it is a mindset. You get in a situation where you can try to finish that game, you know. And you got to play all 60 minutes right to the end, but we've got to get better at that, is finishing chances that we get to close teams out and not leave a door open where a team can climb back in the game, which is what happened.
Hey, Tom, you didn't play the 71 Canadians in your split, So how much better you're gonna have to play this weekend to make some noise?
We're going to have to play real well. These are two really good teams that we're going to play against. So we're going to have to play really well on the road against two very good teams. I think they play, we're not through all of them, examining both teams yet, but BU has a very skilled team. And I think they might be a younger team, but they're very skilled. And they're playing with lots of confidence early in the season here, rebounding off of a year that they were unhappy with. And UMass Lowell is typically an older team that plays very well systematically, and not to underestimate their talent level, but they play very well in units of 5, which makes it very difficult to compete against. So I thought that I was impressed with UMass's forwards in particular. They were a handful to handle at times, and they made plays. The team that we're playing Friday night, they've got skill both up front and on the blue line, even though they're less experienced. And then in UMass Lowell, like last year, I think we lost 4-1 to them, and we really didn't generate much offense against them at all. So we're going to have our hands full Friday night, and then obviously looking towards Saturday.
Tom, is it fun for you to, as a team, and a challenge to play one of the top players in college hockey, expected to be Jack Eichel for BU?
Is it fun? I'll let you know Saturday night after the game. We played against him last year. He's an awfully good player. He's very talented, highly skilled. He's a game-changing player. I guess the fun part per se is that you get to see a player of that caliber, and it's a as a competitor, you want the challenge to play against really good teams and really good players, and certainly they meet both of those criteria, him in particular. So I don't know how much fun it will be. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Just kind of looking along those same lines, it's not often where you go out of conference and you get to play a team that's played the last game you played. I mean, how much do you review that game film of BU and UMass to try and get an advantage and see what kind of things translate, and really just to kind of see where maybe you are comparatively?
Well, that's pretty much all we have this early in the season. Is we have their game against UMass, and then we have their game against the U.S. national team program. So it's pretty limited as to what we get to actually watch. We played them last season. It was a close game. We scored 2 late goals to end up winning the game, and we know that their talent level is really taking a step up from a year ago, and they're a real hungry team because I know they didn't have the kind of season that they had hoped to have last year. So we'll know them to a certain extent, but I think all teams at this stage of the game are really evolving. Like even for us, it's pretty limited, the things that we've implemented and that we're doing with a level of proficiency. It's very much a work in progress, and I expect the same from both the teams, frankly, that we're playing.
That said, I mean, did you see a difference in UMass after they came out of that BU game when you guys played them, and how much different was UMass this year than when you faced them last year?
Well, I thought their power play was better last year. They had a lot of experience on their power play, and so I think their power play will be good again. They've got some pretty good players, but they're finding their way, and you know, that shot that the kid made to win the game, that was a heck of a shot. You know, I mean, that wasn't a fluky goal. They made a real good pass. We didn't respond to it real well. We didn't take it away real well, and they really executed. At the same time, their forwards played with good speed, as we thought they would, and I thought we did a lot of things better than we did last year. Last year we played them on a bigger sheet, and we had a less experienced team than we had this year. So I thought, again, looking back, I didn't give us as much credit as maybe I should have gave us on Saturday night, because I was more caught up in the loss and the way the game ended. But we had plenty of chances, had we scored, to open that game up a little bit, and we just didn't. And that's something we have to learn, because you can't let teams hang around. That's happened to us the last couple of years against some good teams. We were able to hang around and maybe get a late goal or get into overtime and end up with a tie. And I thought we just let that slip away.
Gotta cut the snake's head off.
Yeah, right.
You can use that.
That's what we gotta do, Fred. Cut the snake's head off. Definitely. Anything else?
Coach, obviously going into this matchup, defense is going to be key. Can you talk a little bit about your defense and your thoughts on their play so far?
Well, I thought Friday night I was real happy with how we played defensively, and a big part of that is I thought we moved the puck pretty darn well. I thought we moved it out of our zone well, and UMass was a team that put a lot of pressure on you in their forecheck. We expect the same out of both BU and UMass Lowell. I didn't think we did as good a job handling that the second night for whatever reason. We forced some pucks. And I'm careful to go there because I don't want to make it sound like an excuse, but I wonder how much, the ice conditions played in the confidence of our guys, because it's different for a forward. You're up there, you make a turnover, there's a line of defense and a goaltender behind you. For your defenseman, that's the last line of defense before you get to your goaltender, And we did not move the puck to the same degree, even close, on Saturday night as we did Friday night. And so we'll continue to spend a lot of time on that all week long and all season long. And we need to become very proficient and way more successful at both moving the puck out of our zone and transitioning through the neutral zone. I thought we did a very good job on that Friday night, not so good on Saturday.
You seeing the quirks of the new boards and everything other than beyond just the ice?
Yeah, the boards resulted in a goal for us on Mackenzie McEachern's power play goal. That was a nice play. Walshy made off the end boards, and it came off the weak side, and Mac made a pretty good, a tough play from that angle. But I thought our guys felt pretty good about the boards. But if you watch that, there's a lot of bouncing pucks and rolling pucks for both sides, and I wish we could have taken better advantage of it as an offensive attack to create some turnovers to score. And I thought when you talk about the difference between their team from a year ago, I really thought there was an opportunity with that freshman goalie coming in Saturday night. And if we could have got to him early, he made some really good stops that certainly helped his confidence, so I give him tons of credit. But that could have been a game changer if we could have scored a couple goals early, I think.
There's obviously a lot of great competition in the Big Ten, but when you play teams from the East, how does it help you guys, and what do you think it adds to playing teams like that?
Well, last year Hockey East was an awfully deep league. I think Notre Dame finished in, was it 8th place, and they made the NCAA tournament last season? It was something like that.
They really finished below what they thought they would.
Yeah, I thought it was in the lower division. I can't remember. Maybe it was 6th. I don't remember. But so it's deep, and there's some experienced teams out there, and so all of our teams. There's so much parity in college hockey today. It probably doesn't even matter if you're playing East or West. There's just a lot of parity, and we're seeing that in the early season games. Teams that were expected to do well, and against teams that are kind of emerging and they're stepping up. So. I think, fortunately for us, we're playing a very good schedule, which is going to get us ready for our Big Ten competition, because each of the Big Ten teams is going to keep getting better every week as well. But there's lots of good teams out there.
How bad does the ice have to get before you decide not to play the game? Or I guess it's in the officials' hands, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that it becomes, you make your decision, and that would be an official's decision. I know in my time as a CCHA commissioner, happened one time in 13 years.
It wasn't close, it wasn't that bad.
No. I think safety becomes the issue.
Right,
if you're
that's
in a
what I meant.
condition that you're thinking it's unsafe. Like we were probably the closest we've been to it, and I didn't think that was even close.
Wasn't?
No, I didn't think safety was an issue. I just think the quality of play was impacted on both, to both teams. Last year when we played the outdoor game, I think it was the first game that we played. That was borderline.
But they aren't going to cancel that game.
Yeah, there were some pretty big chunks in the ice, and
They almost canceled the consolation game, right?
yeah.
It was close.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but they had some severe.
Because it delayed it a couple hours.
Yeah, we got delayed. I don't know that it was close to being canceled, but they bought time to be able to make sure. The sun had impact on it. That was the issue. It wasn't the refrigeration, it was the sunlight. There's no way to block it. So they packed, at that time, they packed snow on soft areas. to protect it.
How was it
Insulated.
compared to that green and white game last year? Because that was pretty soupy then.
Yeah, it was pretty similar. It was pretty similar to the green and white game a year ago. One of the differences, though, that night it was like 85 degrees outside, so a lot of that outdoor air was getting inside, and it was a lot cooler here in that regard. But
Any updates on Drager?
yeah, he's day to day. I think he's probably a long shot that he'll be ready to play this weekend. I'd say probably not. Probably not.
Doubtful, as football coaches would say.
Doubtful.
But he's had no relapse, right? It's just conditioning, hockey conditioning?
Yeah, he's still got some tender spots,
Does he?
you know, and so I wouldn't say
It's
a
a hip,
relapse.
right?
He just
Hip.
yeah, and that whole area, you know, your hip flexors and groins, and it's all kind of tied together. Dave's doing a really good job working on it, but you know, overcoming an injury too. I don't know how much you got to get mentally where you're in the right spot too, because last year he was coming back. He played in that outdoor game, and he tweaked himself, and it was a real setback. We don't want him to have a setback.
Yeah.
We want him to feel good about taking the next step. So we're going to be cautious and make sure he's in a good spot, both physically and mentally, before putting him out there.
When do you leave, Thursday?
Thursday morning, early
Skate
flight. We'll skate there, yeah. We'll practice here through Wednesday, skate there Thursday morning. So it's a big Anastos weekend out in Boston. My son
That's right.
is in a tournament in Boston. They're leaving Wednesday. My daughter plays 2 big games out in Boston. I don't think I'll get to watch any of them, but so
They play Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday actually. I think, yeah. They play Cornell.
How they doing?
They're doing pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
He's still
Off to
open
a
the
fast
polls
start.
like top 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Afternoon or, I without looking at the schedule, do you know when they play?
I think they play at 2, maybe both days. I haven't really looked at the schedule. I know my wife, she's going out, so she'll watch my son and my daughter. And if she can slip in one of our games, she'll put her.
Yeah.
And where's your son playing?
They're playing in the Boston area. They're playing in the Beantown Classic tournament that's going on out there.
Third person.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking Anastos.
I'll get to see my family this week. It just happens to be in Boston. I'm at home, I don't see them, but I go to Boston, I get to see them. Anything else? All right.
Coach,
No?
this weekend you guys are going to be on the road, and Munn turns 40 when you're gone. Can you talk about some of your favorite memories as a player? You know, some of the best moments or some of the worst moments, and just what the atmosphere was like back then when you played here.
When is Munn's official birthday?
25th.
It's the 25th.
Well, it was dedicated the 1st, November 1st. So
November 1st.
Yeah,
What was the first game?
it
The
was.
Red Wings,
second.
St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
November 2nd was the first state
Was it?
game.
No, that was in October, the Red Wings game.
Yeah, it was like
Well, I have a lot of fond memories. I remember coming here as a prospect, and I was watching the game. Actually, one of the most memorable experiences I had here, I wasn't even playing in the game. I was watching the game, and they announced that the U.S. beat Russia in 1980. You know, I was like, are you kidding me? You know, it wasn't on TV, and so I remember that from here. Number of games playing in. I remember playing in lots of games and the fun we had playing here and the kind of atmosphere. One of the more memorable was in my freshman year. I remember we were going through much like we're going through, and the building was kind of half full. And I remember getting ready for the game, and the coaches, I could overhear them. They were all excited because somebody called down to them and told them there was a line at the ticket office, you know, for people to get tickets to come into the game. That was a pretty cool thing. And then, without a doubt, the most memorable port experience was losing to Providence at home on a team that should have won the national championship. You know, that was
85, right?
85.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was not a good memory.
Did we get a hat trick here?
Did I ever get a hat trick here? I'm sure I did. But I don't remember. I remember missing a penalty shot here that to this day bugs me. Yeah. In fact, I might have got a hat trick that night. I'm not sure, but I know I missed the penalty, or the next night maybe. But I know I missed. I got my teeth knocked out here, so I got baptized that way. Yeah, it's given me something to talk about for 30 years. A baptism. Now we have all this nice glass to cater to the players as opposed to the steel post that I got introduced to. Check from behind, you know. So there's a check from behind 30 years ago. We still have it in the game. You know, those are the kinds of things I'm getting off track.
You guys played some amazing games against Bowling Green here too, didn't you?
We had some really amazing games against Bowling Green. I remember a game in the playoffs that we were down to Ferris State and had a late comeback to win. I remember again, freshman year, we got off to a real good start, and I think it was in overtime. We made a late turnover to a Ferris player who went in and scored a goal, and they won. And I remember all the reaction in the locker room afterwards. It's best to not talk about it. But we got off to a really good start, and you know, I remember that real clearly. We won a lot. So like, yeah, we scored a lot. We won a lot. There was never any like championship games that were here. Like when we were in playoffs and we won our playoff series, we were expected to win and move on. And then those championship games were always at a neutral site, you know.
Although you won some regional games here to get into the first.
Yeah, we won. Well, just
Actually,
one year. I think I don't remember if we beat. Was it BC we beat?
Yeah.
The 1 year, because
That
my
was
last
before.
year, my freshman year, we played the regionals in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and then
Second year, we
Harvard.
played at Harvard. Third, we played, I think it was
BC.
here, that we beat BC and we got into Lake Placid Frozen Four. And then the fourth year, we lost
no problem.
at home.
I know we talked about it this summer, but I mean, you that game in '80 left a big impression on you when you were still a recruit.
Well, it did.
The crowd response to it.
The crowd response, you know, it was really a game changer back then. I didn't realize it at the time, but it changed so much in the sport, especially college hockey, because virtually all of those players were playing on a college hockey team. So they were so far under the radar, both in America's hearts and certainly in the eyes of an NHL GM. And so I don't know if it was then or the next summer that I was a drafted player in the NHL, which wasn't, it was kind of unheard of. You know, not too many kids were getting drafted, American kids were getting drafted at that time. And then guys were starting to come out of college and getting signed to be able to play in pro hockey. So that really, it changed the game at this level in a big way. It started to open people's eyes at least a little bit, to provide a little bit of opportunity. And yeah, it did make a big impact on me, another piece to come here, because there was a really cool atmosphere here. Anything else? What did you guys think of the lights?
Oh, those were
Those
awesome.
are
I like
cool.
They turned out
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
nice.
I like those.
I didn't get to see them in action, but I saw them.
Yeah, when the lights go
The
right on
fog-
the team, all of a sudden, that makes an impact.
The fog machine too is.
I saw them when they were working on them. I didn't